Welcome back for another episode with your favorite Project Lead the Way teacher, Mr. Spaeth. Today we're going to be learning about water pressure and how we get enough water pressure to a house or a building. We're going to be using the Hazen-Williams equation, and I'll show you how that's done today. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and let's get started. So we're going to be using the Hazen-Williams formula, which essentially calculates head loss due to friction in a pipe. But first of all, we care. So let's go back. Today we're going to be working with 2.3.8 in the Project Lead the Way CEA curriculum. You can read all in the beginning about water pressure and sources of water and treatment and storage and that sort of thing. What we are concerned about today as a consumer and as a designer of our building is maintaining at least a minimum water pressure of 40 psi or below a maximum distribution pressure of 80 psi. So we want to be in that sweet spot. So too low and water is barely trickling out of the shower head, and too high and you're basically washing off with a high pressure hose. Okay, so we want to be somewhere in between. So let's go through a couple definitions. We're going to talk about head. And head is basically above you and giving you pressure below. So think of a water tower. They're essentially raising water above your head so that when you open the faucet, you have pressure, you have water pressure coming out, you have a good amount of pressure coming out. So head is that length in pipe that water column essentially is located. And we could talk about static head pressure, just basically the potential energy of that water at rest. That static head is calculated in feet, and we basically talk about how high is the water and how far down is it going. And here we have just a static head of 53 feet of water. Now, 53 feet of water doesn't mean too much to us. We usually talk about it in pounds per square inch. So there's a simple, quick conversion to get us there. 2.31 feet of water is equal to 1 pounds per square inch. And so if we take 53 feet, multiply by a fraction where feet is on the bottom and PSI is on the top, we would get about 23 PSI. Is this good? No. For at least 40 and below 80. So how much static head do we need? We need at least 92.3 feet, right? So if we do that conversion one more time, so instead of going from feet to PSI, we're going from PSI to feet, essentially just multiplying by 2.31 this time. We have 92.3 feet of water. We need that, except whenever water flows through a pipe, it loses some energy due to friction, just like everything. Okay, so loss, we have static head loss, which is just the difference in height. But then we have this dynamic head loss, which is a energy loss due to friction as water moves. Not only through a pipe, but around bends and corners and elbows. We're going to define two different types of loss. So major loss, which is head loss associated with the friction and a length of pipe. Okay, just how long are we running from the water tower to your building? And then minor loss is head loss associated with bends, fittings, and valves. We're essentially going to look at a table and find the equivalent major loss to these minor losses around. Understand once we get there. From there, then we're going to use the Hazen-Williams formula, which is basically head loss due to friction. Okay, so it's 10.44 multiplied by the length of pipe, and that's going to be an equivalent length of pipe, okay, because we have those bends and elbows and things like that. We're going to know a flow rate of the water that should be given to you by your instructor. There's a constant, Hazen-Williams constant, essentially takes into consideration what type of pipe you're using, whether it's old, new, made of stainless, made of different types of material, that sort of thing. And then the diameter of pipe, so bigger pipe or less loss, that sort of thing. Okay, so let's go into it. Let's first of all look at the length of pipe. Now, what I'm going to show you is a problem that I give my students, and my students who are watching, this is the same problem, okay? Our water line is 50 years old. The lowest point of the water tower is 798 feet. The pipe's diameter is 10 inches. The pipe's length, meaning here is our water tower, our length, including all these little bends and fittings, is 4.8 miles. So we're going to need to take miles to feet. Our pipe is cast iron, and the pipe's flow rate is 110 gallons per minute. I give you all the pipes route right here. So how many elbows and how many gate valves, how many T's, that sort of thing. And so we can find an equivalent length of pipe for those. But let's look at our just length right now, 4.8 miles. And I'm going to put this all in a nice little spreadsheet, okay? So major loss is just associated with the length of pipe. So 4.8 miles multiplied by 5,280 gives us 25,344 feet of pipe, okay? The minor loss is essentially all of these little fittings and valves. If we go to a table to look up what those are, and essentially what I'm going to do is log into my project Lead the Way. I'm going to go to Files, and you can find this just right on the regular internet as well. CA Student Resources, and then a Hazen-Williams equivalent length. You can see things here. Okay, so we have pipe size up here. Pipe size, we're working with 10-inch pipe. So I have a regular 90-degree, gives me 14 feet. So every single elbow is like having 14 extra feet of pipe, if that makes any sense. Okay, if you have a regular 45-degree bend, that's like a 9-foot pipe. So one 45-degree bend is like having 9 extra feet of pipe. Really take a lot out of what we're doing. So what we have is then equivalents for all these. So I had 14 feet of pipe for every 90-degree bend. I had 4 of those. And I had 8 of the 45-degree bends, and those were 9 feet equivalent pipe. So all I'm doing is taking how many of them I have and how many equivalent feet each one is worth. And I'm just adding them all up. To where I get then, this is just the addition, I have 25,887.6 equivalent feet of pipe, total equivalent feet. So that is my length when I'm looking right here, my L. So I should have 10.44 multiplied by that L. Q is flow rate of water, and that was given. Flow rate of water we have right here. Flow rate is 110 gallons per minute. 10. Diameter of pipe was 10 inches. My C, my constant. My constant is that just has to do with what type of pipe. So we have cast iron and wrought iron. Typical range for that constant is 80 to 150. Clean new pipe would be 130. Design value, we use 100. Okay, so in my spreadsheet here, I'm using a C of 100. And I'm going to plug it into this formula. Now, those formulas can get kind of messy, especially when we're plugging it into Excel. But a couple things to remember. Use parentheses where you need to. I do it around the numerator and around the denominator. And then when you are taking a number to a specific power, I use Shift and 6, which gives me that little caret. Okay. So I'm using all those different calculated or just typed in numbers, pushing enter, and due to friction, about 4.4 feet of head pressure. Okay, so it's like my water tower is 4.4 feet lower because of the friction in the pipe. So all I'm going to do is take the elevation of the tower minus the water where my building is, essentially the water meter at my building, and then subtract my loss due to friction to get this number right here. So that's my dynamic head. That's how tall the column of water is, taking into all those considerations. And then, like we did in the PowerPoint, all I'm going to do is divide that by 2.31. And that gets me my PSI for my water pressure at my building. So about 58 PSI. Pretty good. I'm higher than 40, lower than 80, so that's what I'm looking for. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or ask me in class. And I'm hopeful that I explained everything thoroughly for you. But if you didn't, please, again, leave a comment. Just ask me. I'd be happy to help out. Have a great day.